In the heart of the Italian Alps, where the crisp mountain air whispers ancient tales, resides a master sculptor whose creations transcend the boundaries of imagination. This is the amazing story of Bruno Walpoth, a visionary artist whose medium is wood, and whose sculptures breathe life into the very essence of humanity. Join us on a journey into the captivating world of Bruno Walpoth's wood mastery, where art transcends the ordinary and touches the soul. Born in 1959 and raised in Italy, Walpoth comes from a family of artists. His grandfather and uncle were both sculptors, and wood was the medium he grew up with. A virtuoso with lime wood, nut wood, birch, and walnut, among other preferred source material, Walpoth utilizes a chisel and file to free his creations from their original shapeless confines. Under his coaxing, men and women emerge from these blocks of wood. They seem to have been roused from slumber and are just now gaining their bearings. The Walpoth creations are meditative and introspective, having been dreamed up by a visionary artist. They are possibly caught up in the last stages of a dream themselves. Unlike a subject who is smiling broadly for a photographer or preening for a portraitist, these characters are stripped of artifice and pretensions. They seem so real because they are so vulnerable and honestly off guard. Born into a family of woodworkers, Bruno's connection to his ancestral roots runs deep. But it wasn't until he discovered the art of sculpture that he found his true calling. Walpoth began his training in the studio of his grandfather and uncle, both of whom carved ecclesiastical figures. His more formal art training began in 1973 when he worked under Vincenzo Musner in Ortisei. Ortisei, located in the Val Gardena Valley in northern Italy, is renowned for its traditional woodcarving and crafts. The tradition of woodcarving in Ortisei can be traced back to the 17th century when the region's economy was primarily based on agriculture. During the harsh winter months when farming was difficult, the local farmers turned to woodcarving to supplement their income. Ortisei's woodcrafts played a vital role in the development of the broader Italian woodcraft industry. The techniques and styles pioneered by Ortisei's artisans influenced woodcarvers across Italy, leading to the establishment of other renowned woodcarving centers, such as the Val di Fiemme and the Valtellina. Walpoth combines the education from the studios of Ortisei and their 400-year history of woodcarving with the techniques and forms of contemporary sculpture. Wood, to Walpoth, is more than just a material. It's a living, breathing entity with a story to tell. His goal as a sculptor is to listen to that story and to coax it out, to reveal the hidden beauty within. In his studio based in Ortisei, Italy, Bruno Walpoth carves human figures out of blocks of wood, namely limewood or walnut. Inspired by his interactions with the people around him and driven by his persistent desire to create, Walpoth made a complete commitment to his craft 15 years ago. Though he works with live models, his creations don't always imitate the model. Noted for their intimate yet evasive facial expressions, the viewer might just catch themselves reflected in a sculpture's gaze. Walpoth is like the Spencer Tracy of the sculpting world. Just like that legendary American actor who downplayed his greatness by reducing his craft to, know your lines, come to work on time, and don't bump into the furniture. Walpoth treats his achievements as if they are just part of his daily routine. His job is that of a wood craftsman, a sculptor who creates with that most natural and organic of elements. The life-size young women and men that have been extracted appear motionless. It appears as if in the very moment of being brought to life by the hand of the artist, their movements again have become paralyzed. Their haggard bodies stand there with frozen gestures and facial expressions, their arms stretched out either before them or sideways, but only rarely bent or intertwined. In their decidedly tense poses, Bruno Walpoth's full-figure sculptures, along with his torso-less and legless busts, appear introverted, static, and unaffected by their surroundings. Sometimes their gaze is averted and other times it is straight ahead and directed toward the viewer. Their eyes do not wander in search of contact. They are not trying to catch the eye, rather, as is consistent with their pose, they are fixed in concentration and directed inwardly. The pupils are dull and the lids sometimes even closed. Their gaze in any case remains tangible. They generate presence in space. According to Walpoth, when he makes his sculptures, he is not telling any stories. He is just trying to capture the moment. That moment, in which the model has vanished in his own thoughts and acts absent, is what interests him the most. It is this moment he is trying to implement. The melancholic mood comes from being alone. Maybe it's a longing for something, which he carries in him. Rather than telling a story through his sculpture, he aims instead to capture an isolated and introspective moment. To achieve this, he works with live models in his studio. They are all people whom Walpoth knows personally and whose expressions he studies in many long weeks in his studio. He hardly ever uses photography, but works with the model himself from the very beginning of the first rough work on the wooden trunk. This is very unusual in a time when so much is mediated by the media. And this human relationship between model and sculptor is also reflected in the finished sculptures. All his works are created through encounters and confrontations with people. Even if the realism and the concrete reproduction of the model gives him real pleasure and satisfaction, he is not interested in creating an exact or hyper-realistic image of the person standing in front of him. Rather, the model serves in its appearance as a shell for implied projections. The feelings, which awaken in him during the working process, ultimately determine the expression of the figure. One could say that his works are perhaps more a portrait of themselves than of the model. It is not a matter of finding a balance between these different characteristics, but it is the viewer who has to decide what they get involved in. If they are open to an encounter with themselves, then perhaps the figure becomes a reflection of their soul. Parts of his sculptures are often painted in typically muted colors. He uses this coloring to create their clothing, hair, or sometimes their skin. There's a sense of intimacy in Walpoth's work that is truly unique. We can't help but feel drawn into the world he creates, to connect with the humanity that lies beneath the surface. Models who are working with Bruno was a truly transformative experience. He has this incredible ability to capture not just the physical likeness of his subjects, but the very essence of who they are. There's a sense of vulnerability in Bruno's sculptures that I think comes from his deep connection to his subjects. He sees beyond the surface, into the heart and soul of each person he portrays. What makes Walpoth's human wood sculptures so unique and beautiful is not just their technical skill or artistic vision, but the depth of emotion and humanity that shines through in every piece. Each sculpture tells a story, a glimpse into the rich tapestry of human experience, and invites us to pause, to reflect, and to connect with the beauty that lies within us all. The form and the anatomy of the sculptures matter to Walpoth, and he acknowledges that the silent poses of the figures of the Renaissance painter Piero della Francesca still impress him. Among the contemporary artists, he's very much admire the works of Antony Gormley, as well as the busts of Katsura Funakoshi. Additionally, the photos of the American photographer Jock Sturgis fascinate him. Since his works are lifelike in size and in proportion, their physical aesthetics say much about their connection to being human. But beyond their actual dimensions, when Walpoth stands in front of the work, one should have the impression that the characters have a soul. He would like to achieve that. For Bruno Walpoth, wood sculpting is more than just a craft, it's a journey of discovery, a quest to uncover the hidden truths that lie beneath the surface of our world. Walpoth's work has garnered international acclaim, with exhibitions in prestigious galleries and museums from New York to Tokyo. His sculptures, with their exquisite detail and haunting beauty, have captivated audiences far and wide, earning him a reputation as one of the foremost wood sculptors of his generation. So what do you think about Bruno Walpoth's sculptures? Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more. I'll see you in the next one.